from WBBZ TV Sports. It's time to Beat the Champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody. We have made the journey from Bradford, Pennsylvania, all the way here to Lockport, New York for another month-long stay of great bowling action here on Beat the Champ with Janelle Sabin and Sue Novoitsky. My name is Paul Peck. We're here at Brad Angelo Lanes in Lockport. We have been here before. This is our second time here, and we bring back one of our most notable names, as Chuck Jagodzinski made the ride up from Bradford with us, and he'll be our first bowler right off the bat.
Absolutely, and it's always great to see Chuck bowl because he's so talented and he's so good at adjusting to conditions, so he's going to be a tough competitor.
Yeah, Chuck's will face in this first week some notable bowlers like Tony Dolan, Tim Friends, and Ryan Kress. And then throughout the month here at Brad Angelo Lanes, we've got some of the great bowlers in Western New York like Gary Kenyon, Tyler Molina, and Pat Brick.
Right. The interesting thing about this month is it's very lefty dominant. So we'll have the opposite effect where the right-handers are actually going to see less play in the lanes than the left-handers.
All right, so it's going to be a fun month of bowling here at Brad Angelo Lanes. Look who's back. We missed you, Janelle.
I know, and I haven't stopped hearing anything about where were you? But I'm here, and I'm here to stay.
All right, well, here, that's good to know. So the gang is all here. We're in Lockport, New York at Brad Angelo Lanes, so let's get rolling. And here we go with our first match. It's Chuck Jagodzinski to be challenged by our number one qualifier from here at Brad Angelo Lanes, and his name is Tim Friends, and Tim is making his debut here on Beat the Champ. But Sue, you've known Tim for a long time. He is one of Western New York's top bowlers. We just haven't seen him yet on our show.
Right. He grew up at Transit Lanes bowling, kind of like a bowling center rat, like the time I worked there as a little kid, and really practiced a lot, honed his game. They did a lot of things like trick shots. They used to set up the lanes for themselves, and just like kids do with chairs and do all that stuff. But it made him more accurate and it made him very skilled. And then he moved to North Dakota, and he's just recently come back. So that's why we haven't seen him, because he's been out of town for a while.
30 years old from Williamsville, and here's the debut of Tim Friends. It's a month-long stay at Brad Angelo Lanes, and we are off and rolling. So not only was Tim our top qualifier here, he was also top qualifier and top qualifier here to make the show, but he won the television from Dirt Cheap TV because he was our top qualifier, and the aforementioned man whose name sits on the side of our bowling center here is Brad Angelo, and Brad joins us, as he will for this first show. Brad, always good to be back here in Brad Angelo Lanes in Lockport.
Well, it's wonderful to be able to have you both here and be able to host Beat the Champ. What an honor it is to be able to be here together with you guys.
Second time we've been here. We were here, I believe, in early in the year, a year ago, in the spring. So it's good to get back here. And here's Chuck Jagodzinski, an awful big wobble on the 4-pin, and it won't go down.
So I see these two are both a little bit light on their first shots, and just a little bit like fresh oil for them, considering what they bowled on, and now they're here on a shot that really has to hold up for the whole day. So you think they're seeing a little fresh oil?
Well, believe it or not, our house shot, even when it starts out, if the ball gets about out to the 7th or 8th board down lane, it really doesn't want to hook back. Most house shots, there's more than enough friction out there to be able to get that ball back. Now, if Chuck were to move a little bit more to the right, he might find some friction early, and it might check high. So we'll see what he makes a move here.
Oh, great shot.
That pin went flying around the top of the 10, would not take it down.
Nothing wrong with that shot, though. That was pretty much exactly what he wanted to do.
Chuck Jagodzinski is making his 21st appearance here on Beat the Champ. That is second only to Mike Zarcone. Chuck's 18 wins, second only to Mike Zarcone. So he's number 2 in wins, number 2 in shows, and of course Chuck is here because he won the last match 2 weeks ago at Billy Lanes in Bradford, a 247-214 win over Tim Monturi. So Chuck was able to head down to Bradford, win, and head right up here to Lockport and do what he can to win again. Second frame here on lane 20 for Tim Friends. And there's his first strike. What are we going to see from Tim, Sue? You've known him, as you said, for a long time. What kind of a bowler is he? What style can we look for from him here today? As he glares back at you, waiting for the answer. You want to hang out there, Tim, until she answers that question, or?
Well, truth be told, I'm so proud of him, and I'm so proud of how he matured as a person and as a bowler, and I couldn't say more about him. And he does work very hard at his game, and I expect him to be very accurate today. But both those guys, little 10 pin on 19, huh?
Well, if you really watch, none of the shots thus far, the ball hasn't really faced up toward the pins yet at all. The ball's still trying to find that friction down lane to be able to get into that good roll as it enters the pins. So it'll be interesting to see if they are able to alter their speed, slow their speed down enough to be able to get that ball to be rolling more forward as it enters the pins, and then those pins won't have a chance if they do that.
It's funny how you say that, because when I was watching Timmy warm up, I was surprised that he actually started with that ball, because I didn't think it was reading it quite right. And so we'll see how he makes that work.
Well, good strike in the second frame here for Chuck Jagodzinski.
So we noticed that, if we're going to talk about bone balls, that Tim is using some surface, and Chuck's ball has some shine on it.
Well, Chuck's using more of a pearlized ball, looks like, to start, and
Right.
and
he's using a solid cover.
and he's using a solid cover. It doesn't look like Tim has a whole lot of surface on that. Looks relatively shiny. It could be just from throwing his original shots over on the practice pairs, and it starts to develop what we call a little bit of lane shine. But Chuck, I don't think that was exactly where Chuck wanted that last shot. He got that in a little bit, and it ended up tripping the 4-pin, so it was a good break there.
Fourth frame, Tim Franz with a strike.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ TV.
Brad, you mentioned this is your house shot that you have out there with the oil pattern. Any thought of doing anything different? Any thought of making it any more difficult for the guys on the show?
Well, we believe it or not, we did talk about that, but then Michelle and I decided, you know what, most of the places just put out their house shot, and so we'll go with the flow. I don't need to give anybody else in Buffalo a reason to dislike me for something that I did, so we just left it as the house shot.
I think the players are pretty mixed on that. I think there's some that really do appreciate and embrace the tougher shot. But you had a good turnout for the qualifiers.
We did. We had just over 130 bowlers, which was great. I think that's right around what most of the other places are doing. So that was good to see everybody come out and be able to support. Now you watch that shot right there. You saw that ball really get into that good roll. And the 6-pin went into the 10 as opposed to deflecting and going into the sideboard and then chopping the 10. So that was attributed to that good ball roll getting into the pins.
You got the update there on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, and what that scoreboard is showing now is 4 in a row for Chuck Jagodzinski. Did you help dress Tim Franz? Did you pick those pants out for him, Sue?
Pick that outfit right out for him.
Because that's top 5 most stylish bowling pants we've ever had here on Beat the Champ.
Do they use the loudmouth on tour, Fred? Do they wear that?
There are plenty of guys that use the loudmouth on tour.
Sounds to me like you're not one of them.
Oh, messenger!
I'm not one of them. That was a pretty good break there. That headpin came rolling across the deck there. We put the extra grease down there at the deck to be able to get those pins to fly around.
I don't know. I think Timmy would think that was more skill than a break, but
Those are good TV
But
moments, so appreciate you throwing a little bit extra down on there. So that's good.
For those who don't know, the pants are made by a company. They're called Loudmouth, right? The company.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about me being a
No,
loudmouth.
no. You're actually quite soft-spoken today.
It's early. It's early in the day. And another strike for Tim. That's 4 in a row for him. So both of these guys, after fishing their way through the first couple of frames, have both hit a terrific groove. See if Chuck can make it 5 in a row. Yeah, you saw the reaction there. Just a little bit shy of pulling off that other strike. Chuck Jagodzinski's 51 years old. He's from Lancaster, employed at the Attica Correctional Facility, and of course, one of our most familiar names here on the show, and that's because he is one of our most successful bowlers.
Chuck's been around a long, long time. I mean, he came
You
out
saying
the
he's
scene-
old, Brad? Is that what you're saying?
He's really old.
Oh.
But then again, so are all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And
We're
no one is excluding
experienced.
themselves. Yes, we're experienced. We've seen a lot. All right, 8th frame now, and Chuck goes right back to striking.
You know, speaking of old, those of us from around here in Buffalo, it's basically all the same faces of all the people you have to watch for and you're bowling against when you get down to the ends of the tournaments. But the only difference is that we have to wear a little bit bigger pants and we have a lot more gray hair.
That's true. That's true. Well, and this is one of those sports where I think a lot of times, I think you'll both say you have the ability to get better as you get older and more experienced in the sport. In most sports, you're at your peak when you start and kind of dip down a little bit as you get older, but not this sport.
Well, I'll tell you, like a good wine, it really you can only get better with age. But the problem is I'm on the verge of turning into vinegar. So
So not
Well, you had the comedy writers going pretty good here leading up to the show, didn't
Hey,
you?
I'm getting cranked
You got like
up.
a whole list of material there written down?
well,
You're
you
just
know,
checking
I
them
mean,
off?
no, a few minutes ago you said I was a little bit subdued as we got started today, so I thought I'd get cranked up a little bit.
So that was the wrong thing to say. So the wrong thing to say. All right, Tim's working 5 strikes in a row as he moves to the 9th. Oh, you got a little lucky there. Don't forget, I mentioned Tim won the television for being the top qualifier coming into the round of 24 here at Brad Angelo Lanes. Of course, everywhere we go with Beat the Champ, top qualifier in the round of 24 wins a television, valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. Rapids Bowling Center will be your next opportunity. Qualifying has already begun. Sue will give you those dates and the details on that as we move throughout the course of the show, but an opportunity for you not only to make the show, but take home a nice television.
You know, Tim's already planning a Super Bowl party over to his house that we're going to use that big screen TV
Sure.
that he got from Dirt Cheap TV. So
Between Tim and Chuck and Zarcone, you could have it in every room of their house with all the TVs they've won.
we could have an OTB.
That's right.
Ooh, trip 4.
Body English helps Chuck get a nice frame strike.
It's a big break right there. Big trip 4. Well,
So it's a good match coming right down to the end here to get things started at Brad Angelo
Since
Lanes.
Tim's having a party, we'll have to get his address and announce it on air.
Absolutely.
We should do that. We should do that.
Wow. That was a great shot.
Not wasting any time seeing some outstanding bowling from Chuck Jagodzinski.
He does
and
just
Tim
get up and go,
Franz.
doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting to evaluate the previous shot. He's already, the ball's going down the lane. He needs this shot to shut out Tim Friends right here.
Oh,
Wow. Well, we are starting off with a great match today.
and I would expect, based on the lineup of bowlers that we have coming throughout the next 3 weeks, we're going to get a lot of matches like this here.
So Tim needs a double and 8 to tie, 9 to win.
So that's back-to-back Two 47s for Chuck Jagodzinski. It was enough to get him a win at Bradford 2 weeks ago to get him here. Let's see if it's enough to keep him alive into our next match against Tony Dolan here at Brad Angelo Lanes. So one more time, what does Tim need?
He needs a double and 9.
Got it.
So we need this first one here.
Oh boy, did that pin go flying around the 10 or what? And that's going to clinch a victory for Chuck Jagodzinski. So big win for Chuck, 2 in a row now, and one of our best Beat the Champ bowlers comes right here for the debut in Lockport and shows everybody how it's done. And then we've got a great match coming for you next. Good debut for Tim Friends. I know now that he's back in town, we're going to see a lot more of him. But it's a win for Chuck Jagodzinski. We'll wrap this match up, get you ready for match number 2. When we return to Brad Angelo Lanes, it's Beat the Champ in Lockport, New York, back right after this. Well, Tim, not a bad Beat the Champ debut. 238 is usually enough to advance you, except when you're bowling against Chuck Jagodzinski.
Yeah, we both had a couple of good breaks. I had a late messenger on that 110 pin in my string there that helped keep me in a little bit. But you win some, you lose some. There's some days you get the breaks and some you don't. So could have used one more in there, but. What are you going to do?
Well, it's good to have you back. Good to have you back in town, and hopefully we continue to see you on the show.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, Brad, make him feel a little better.
Yeah, Tim, great job. You got a TV out of the deal. We got a big Super Bowl party planned. You didn't know that yet, but we do. So here's a little something
coming to your
for
house.
you. Yeah, you could buy the chip and the dip and get things started for us.
Perfect.
All right, we're off to a good start. Tim Friends with a really good challenge. Chuck Jagodzinski moves on. It's Jagodzinski against Dolan. That's match number 2 when we return to Brad Angelo Lanes in Lockport. Oh, what a legendary matchup this is, huh? Chuck Jagodzinski and Tony Dolan, 2 of the best guys to ever throw a bowling ball down a lane in Western New York, are going to match up here in our second contest of the day here at Brad Angelo Lanes in Lockport. We haven't seen Tony in almost a year, so it's good to get him back on the show. 10th appearance for Tony, overall record of 7 wins and 8 losses, and of course, Chuck's success has been well noted, so this should be a lot of fun. Good to have Tony Dolan back. And good to have him back and doing exactly what we expect him to do.
Yep, perfect right out of the gate.
So this will be fun. I'm sure these guys have bowled against each other hundreds of times before.
Yep, they've seen each other in travel league.
This is a question
leagues.
for both of you. Does a match like this against a guy not only that you have a lot of respect for, that you know is very good, does it bring out the best in you as a bowler when you go up to a match like this, Brad? Is it, when you're bowling one of the guys that you look up to or you respect a lot, does that make you better?
I think every match that you get into, especially any that, whether it's on local TV or national TV, there's a certain amount of adrenaline going. But when you're bowling against one of your rivals, you really want to step it up a notch. And there's a lot of things going on in your mind, and it takes a while for you to get to slow your mind down when you're on a TV show like this.
Now, Brad used the word rivals, and we know they're rivals, but we also know they're friends. We also know there's a lot of respect. But does the rivalry take over when you're going into a match like this, Sue?
Well, I guess it depends who you're bowling. There's some people that bring out that you just absolutely do not want to lose to, and it's probably somebody that slapped a shot out at you, or somebody that's said something, or definitely inspired you to have a little more enthusiasm about them. These two, I think there's a healthy respect between these two. I don't know if I would consider this anybody who's made someone mad enough to really be that intense.
I don't know that I've ever known Tony Dolan to make anybody mad.
That's true.
He's one of the nicest guys that I've ever met.
surprise me.
You're right.
Hey, we've had some fun on this show of trying to make Tony look meaner, right? Remember the infamous sunglass episode of 2017? So yeah, we've done our best to try to toughen Tony up. I don't really think
That might be the last time we saw him.
I
I don't think he wanted to come back
he may
after
not have
that.
wanted to come back after that.
I don't
You're
even
right.
think I've ever seen Tony Dolan slap a shot out. I think his game face is nothing more than a pleasant smile.
Once again, something you could add to the Bowl U curriculum on how to intimidate and get in your opponent's face.
Oh, Brad, you could probably have a few things with that, huh?
I don't usually start it. I just don't back down when it gets started.
Well, that's okay too. So now here's something interesting about Chuck. We're able to keep track of the overall statistics. Those are a lot of what we give you when the guys are bowling here. But I also keep track of it on a yearly basis. And because we're in December, so we're coming to the end of our year, Mike Zarcone has been on 7 shows with 11 wins in 2018. Chuck Jagodzinski, this is now his 8th show. He now has 9 wins. So if we're quote-unquote crowning a 2018 champion, Chuck Jagodzinski is within 2 wins of Mike Zarcone for the most wins in the calendar year. So something to watch if Chuck is able to continue to put some wins together here. Pete Maduri and Jason Siliberto have both won 7 matches through the course of this year.
We haven't seen as much of them. I mean, Chuck is, I feel like it's a rare month we don't see Chuck on the show.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Boy, he was sliding and sliding, trying to get that little body English on that one, and just couldn't get that 4-pin to go down. Or the 5-pin, I believe it is.
It is the 8-pin.
Or the 10-pin.
Oh, all right.
Just pick one. It doesn't matter at this
Brad.
point.
My depth perception isn't so good anymore.
It's your angle that you're
Yeah.
looking at it from.
Thank you.
We got
Thank
you
for
off
having
to
my
the
back
side.
on that one.
So this puts Tony in a position to get a little lead on Chuck. Nice double here.
That's 3 straight spares for Chuck Jagodzinski. So here's the 42-year-old from West Seneca, self-employed in the precast concrete business. And that's not necessarily what he wanted.
Both of them checking up a little bit high.
Well, you know, I noticed even during his practice shots over on lane 20, he didn't really get the ball right up high enough into that pocket, and he left a couple of weak 7 pins. His first shot over there in this match, he left a weak 7, and I'm not sure he got that one quite off his hand the way he wanted to. He missed it a little bit right off his hand and pulled it up a little high. I think that's in an attempt to get it up in that pocket and to be able to carry that 7 pin.
Tony Dolan, one of the reasons we haven't seen him a lot on our show over the last year, he has been very busy winning lots of tournaments. So tell everybody a little bit about a pretty cool triple that Tony and some of his teammates almost pulled off.
Well, yeah, we were talking earlier, and Tony said that they had won the Tonawanda City team, and he bowls with a lot of people we've seen on the show here with Pat Brick, George Zabluski, Matt Zazowski, and John Masiello all beat the Champers, and they won the Tonawanda City team, and they also won the Niagara Falls City team. So that was Pat Brick, Dave Jajak, who I think we've seen on the show, and they just fell short of winning the Buffalo. They finished second, so they would have won all 3, which he called the trifecta.
So Chuck ends that string of spares with a strike in the 5th frame. So yeah, so it's not like Tony hasn't been bowling. He's just been bowling other places and winning other places. And that's a good strike in the 6th for Chuck Jagodzinski.
So
Chuck's wife Michelle here cheering
Yep.
him on. You may be able to hear her. We all do, but that's what we love about her.
sorry.
Don't ever apologize for that, Michelle. No. You're allowed.
Try to be louder than the strength.
Tony's got good support too. He's got his mom and his dad, Margaret and Ray Dolan, here cheering him on at Brad Angelo Lanes as well. Tough break on that one in the 6th frame.
So I noticed that there's quite a few left-handers that made this show here. Do you find that typically here in the center that left-handers score fairly high?
Well, I think what it, you know, as always, we had the majority of our bowlers on the last weekend of qualifying, and so obviously that ends up having more bowlers per pair. And when there's more bowlers per pair, the shot on the right side changes a whole lot faster than the shot on the left side, so it stays a little bit more consistent for those that are on the left side of the lane. As far as Tony's concerned, he has a very simple game, just straight up and at him, and there's not many house patterns you could put out to where he isn't going to be able to find a way to be able to make the ball look just the way it did right there.
This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
Don't forget, top qualifier in our round of 24 every month here on Beat the Champ wins a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. Qualifying going on at the Rapids Bowling Center for January shows. It's going on right now, and we're headed towards the top 24 roll-off and the taping in late December. So get on up to the Rapids Bowling Center, one of our favorite places and the very first original home of Beat the Champ. And try to make the show and have your chance at winning that television. Tough break for Chuck. He'll have to spare here in the 7th frame.
Well, that shot there, he got in a little bit on that shot, just a little bit, and the ball didn't get into the roll, and then there the 3-pin didn't get hit where it needed to, and the 6-pin wrapped the 10.
So that's one of those things you say that, and it's one of those things that doesn't come out that often, is that not every shot that hits the pocket that looks good should strike. And from being in this business for a long time that that's not necessarily what people think. But there's a lot of physics that go into this, and there's reasons why it doesn't strike all the time other than luck.
Well, if you ask 100 bowlers, and if you were just to talk to them and you ask them, why do you leave a 10-pin, the vast majority of them will say, well, I had the wrong angle. And that's not true at all. The only way you can leave a 10-pin is if you have incorrect deflection. And once you start understanding what deflection is, it could have been caused by the wrong angle, but there's not many bowlers that are really good enough to know what to do to change their angle to begin with.
Well, that pin was sliding over there. We were all waiting to see whether the 7 was going to go down or not. It did not, obviously.
Well, this is an honest match right here. This is back and forth.
Between two great bowlers. Exactly what we expected. So here's the spare opportunity for Tony in the 9th frame. And then Chuck will see what he can't post up here and make Tony have to beat. Winner of this match takes on Ryan Kress in our 3rd match of week 1 here at Brad Angelo Lanes. Good strike for Chuck Jagodzinski, 2 in a row.
He liked that shot.
I think we can tell usually pretty quickly as soon as Chuck throws it whether he likes the shot. He kind of gets that stance where he gets down and he's just waiting for all those pins to drop. There's another one right there. 3 in a row now. Chuck knows if he finishes strong here, he'll get himself onto the next match and look for the sweep of the week.
Well, he basically just needs to keep this ball on the lane. Nothing too damaging, and that'll be more than enough.
There you go.
More than enough to be able to solidify the match.
There you go. That's a winner right there.
So it's Chuck Jagodzinski's 20th win here on Beat the Champ. Only he and Mike Zarcone have reached the 20-win mark, and it's going to be a 3rd consecutive victory for Chuck Jagodzinski, and he'll advance on to our 3rd match. We'll check in with Tony. Boy, the guys against Chuck are bowling well, but they're not quite bowling as well as Chuck is. We'll find out Tony's take on that. Get you ready for match number 3. When Sue, Brad, and myself return, it's Beat the Champ at Brad Angelo Lanes in Lockport. Back right after this. 234 to 207, the final score of match number 2. Chuck Jagodzinski with a win over Tony Dolan. Chuck's on a pretty good roll here, isn't he,
Throwing
Tony?
pretty good right now, and lanes are matching up nice for him.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the fact that we haven't had you on the show in a while, but it's because you've been doing a lot of winning around town. Congratulations on that. How much fun is winning in those kind of team situations?
I prefer bowling in team events, you know, the camaraderie with the team, and then they're just thriving off of each other, and when one guy's striking, you want to keep going and not let anybody else down.
All right, maybe we need a little team competition. Come up with a little team competition here on Beat the Champ, right?
Maybe we could do that. Maybe we come up with a doubles or something like that. I'd love to bowl doubles with you, Tony. Truly one of the nicest guys in Buffalo. Congratulations on another great showing, Tony.
Thanks, Vid.
All right, so Tony Dolan, good to have him back on the show, but we know Chuck Jagodzinski's coming back. He'll go for a sweep of the week when we return to Lockport right after this. Thank you, Tony. So Chuck Jagodzinski goes for 3 wins in a row and looks for a sweep of the week here at Brad Angelo Lanes. His opponent will be Ryan Kress, making his second appearance on our show. The only other time he was on here, he lost to his brother, Tom. So this is the first time Ryan has been here not bowling against someone from his own house. So we'll see how he does matched up against Chuck Jagodzinski. So here we go, Ryan Kress. Frame number 1 here, third match of the day at Brad Angelo Lanes in Lockport. And a good start for Ryan.
It didn't matter what. He was just trying to do some intimidation there. It's like,
He may
I'll
be.
strike on any lane.
Left, right lane, name doesn't matter. You know, you could put Frank up on there. It didn't matter. I'll bowl up again. I'll bowl anywhere, anyone, under any name. All right. Brad Angelo, of course, is joining us here at Brad Angelo Lanes. He's been here for the whole show. What are you seeing from Chuck? He's in a heck of a groove right now. Anything that you notice about the way he's bowling, why he's bowling so well?
Well, without a doubt, the lane here it's starting to allow his ball to get into a little bit more of a roll. I mean, you're seeing that friction that he's creating in that front part of the lane. And he has a little bit of the oil to the left, and it's allowing him hold. So he'd have to throw it pretty bad, I think, to miss the pocket. It's just going to be a matter of whether he gets it through the pins to carry.
And really what's happening is because he's had some good results, he's actually getting looser, which is making him throw the ball a little bit better. So you can see that he's not tight at all. He's just it's up there off his hand real clean.
Well, once you get the first few shots and get the first win under your belt, whether it's a TV show or even in a normal tournament, then you're able to settle into the job at hand. I think it's always an advantage for the person who just got done bowling to have to come back out and bowl against somebody who's been sitting waiting for their first match. All
right, so how much does it help someone like Ryan, who, because he's been sitting and waiting and watching Chuck bowl, comes out and throws strikes on the first 2 frames? How much does that add another layer to how good you're feeling till that happens?
I mean, you know, yeah, he threw 2 great shots to get started, but still, you know, it's obvious. You just watch Chuck and his demeanor. He's already in the flow of the match. He's already knows, hey, listen, I just get up and do my job, get the ball off my hand. He's already got that feel, accustomed to the TV lights, accustomed to us talking right behind him. There's a lot of things that he's just, you know, falling into place.
And I have to say that as a bowler, as a fellow bowler, you can definitely see, demeanor was the perfect word. It was the word going through my head. You can see Chuck's confidence, and he just looks like he's completely lined up and he's right there. And then that happens.
Yeah, that one, I mean, if you saw, if those of you at home that are watching, you can certainly see that one right there. Certainly was faster off his hand.
And he even threw himself off, yeah.
Yep, and it didn't get into the roll that it needed to get into.
And we, you know what, as bowlers, we all have our triggers, and for Chuck, you can obviously see by watching him, it's his speed. He gets right up there and he bowls, and you know, he doesn't take time to set up or any of that, but he can go too fast, which is what happened on the right lane.
Well, if we're going to be talking about any sort of gamesmanship, And if I was bowling Chuck right now, you bet I would be taking my time,
Sure.
and trying to slow him down,
Right.
and forcing him to take a little bit longer. He seems to be really getting up there
Right.
and grabbing the ball,
Right.
getting up on the lane. I would be making sure that he's going to go at my pace.
It's like a pitcher in baseball who steps off the mound and
course.
rubs the ball down for a batter that is anxious and waiting. Hey, Brad, it's been a big couple of months here for you, and we want to congratulate you for being inducted into the Greater Buffalo USBC Hall of Fame last month. Quite an event and quite an honor for you. What was that all like?
It really was an honor. I guess being able to be around so many great people that I haven't seen in so long. I don't really bowl a whole lot on the local scene, just because when we're out on tour, I just don't have the luxury of getting around and mixing with some of the people. But I walked into that room and I seen so many people that I seen, bowling in college that I hadn't seen, and back bowling in the throughway lane sweepers back in the day. All of those people were there, and certainly not just for me, but for the whole class of people that went in. And then I saw the names of all the people that were getting inducted. What an honor to be recognized with that group of people this year. It was really, really great.
I feel very intimidated. I'm sitting next to two Hall of Famers here. Me hosting the Hall of Fame event on occasion at the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame is as close as I might get. So you two guys are amazing to both be in the Hall of Fame for your outstanding careers and your achievements and what you've given to this sport of bowling in this town. That's fantastic. Congratulations.
And what
to
it's
both of
given
you.
and what it's given to us, and I think that you would agree that we've made a name for ourselves in a sport that has treated us very well. It's allowed us to do that. And I was at I was there obviously, and I feel the same exact way when I walk in there.
Did you, were you, as you were talking, did you see that pin slide about a foot from right to left? All right, so Chuck will look to grab this spare in the 6th frame after that tough break. Pulls out the famous Chuck Jagodzinski boxing glove ball and provides the knockout punch to get the 6th frame spare.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
So, Sue, continue what you were saying.
Just that, I know that I appreciate the opportunity to excel at something and actually make a name for myself or something. I mean, I feel like bowling has treated me exceptionally well. And when I went into that room, I felt the same way as you. I mean, seeing all those people, I just smile ear to ear because they're all milling about, talking to each other, and you walk into these groups of people who, you grew up bowling against, or like you said, bowled college with, but Rick Mujalowski Sr. was my bowling coach with Roy Summer over at Buffalo State, and him and Rick Jr., it's like, who expects to see them, right? And you can just say that somebody at every table, and then you see Pat Brick and Paul Nowak, and see these people together anymore, and there they are all together, and Angela. It's just such a great, it's great, isn't it?
Well, in my particular case, since I was old enough to speak, all I wanted to do was bowl. I wanted to be a professional bowler. Literally everything in my life that I have is from bowling. I met my wife Michelle because of bowling. We have 3 children. We're trying to make this bowling center successful. She's renovated the whole inside. Having Beat the Champ here. Following the footsteps of my father.
Sure, of course.
Him being in the Hall of Fame, so joining him in the Hall of Fame was truly an honor. Everything I have is from bowling, so I agree with you wholeheartedly. And then walking into that room and seeing the names and the people that have gone before you, joining that group of people here around the Buffalo area was really an honor.
We were all tied up until Chuck just nailed that 8th frame strike. Don't forget, top qualifier in the round of 24 for next month's Beat the Champ qualifying at Rapids Bowling Center, Niagara Falls. Going to win a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. And you've been watching that Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard give you the update on a very tight match between Chuck Jagodzinski and Ryan Kress, and that, based on your reaction from Ryan, you know that that's a tough break.
Again, hopefully you're able to see it, because I'm able to pick it up as soon as it leaves his hand. That ball, it didn't get into a roll. It hit the proper point of the pins, but it deflected to the left and went right around the 5-pin. I think he's going to make it.
Oh, just misses. So I believe in our third match, that's the first open frame we've had, and it belongs to Ryan in the 8th. That tells you how well the guys have been bowling here. 247, 238, Chuck Jagodzinski over Tim Friends. 234, 207, Chuck over Tony Dolan. And another good match going here between Chuck and Ryan. So whatever you did, Brad, whatever you did to these lanes, they are providing us with some excellent entertainment. And once again, another difficult leave for Ryan Kress. So what's happened to Ryan, Sue, in the last two frames?
Could you tell on that shot, Brad? Sometimes when he'll feel like he went light on that shot, or he'll feel like he didn't hit it, and he'll come over here and overcompensate.
I think that's exactly what happened. To be honest with you, remember we talked about how difficult it is to come when you're waiting in the wings, and then to be able to come out onto the match where a guy's already matched up. He started out with 2 good shots, got 2 strikes, and then as the match went on, you're right, he got the bad break and left the 5-10, and then told himself, all right, you make sure you get this one up into those pins, and then sure enough, he just overcompensated. It's really too bad that he had to pay a price on both of those shots.
Yep. So the 2 open frames for Ryan Kress in 8-9, and then the follow-up strike for Chuck Jagodzinski gives Chuck the win. So it's a sweep of the week for Chuck Jagodzinski, 4 in a row overall. We'll come back and we'll wrap up this match and get you ready for next month's shows when Brad Angelo, Sue Navoyski, Paul Peck return. It's the BTC at the BAL in Lockport. We're back right after this. .236 to 194, the final score, a win for Chuck Jagodzinski. Ryan, what happened in those 8th and 9th frames for you?
Just the first one, I got it inside and just didn't get into the roll that needed to, and just hit flat, and then left the 5-10. And then the other one, I just got it out and just hooked too much and right on the head pin and left the 4-6.
Right. Were you thinking about the 8th when you went to the 9th?
Not really. I just threw 2 bad shots in a row.
Right. All right. Well, it winds up being the key in this match, Brad.
Ryan, great job. It's always great to see you and how you're developing. You're doing great, and you're going to be around for a long time, it looks like.
All right, good job by Ryan Kress. We'll get him back on the show soon enough. Sue, we know we're getting Chuck back for another week.
Yes, Chuck, taking out those left-handers, huh?
Yeah, now I'm at 4-3. Remember, I started the year at 0-3.
Okay, well, I could see your confidence start to rise there as the game was going on, and then you come over here and I don't hear that from you. What we got to do to get some confidence out of you?
I don't know. The shot's going a little weird on me right now. If I get it right, mine will do like Ryan, go right through the middle. So I'm trying to keep it tight, but then I'm leaving a lot of weak 10 pins then. So.
All right, well, we'll figure that one out. Nice bowling today.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure he will. It's 4 in a row for Chuck Jagodzinski. We're going to get him back on next week's show. Sue and I will come back and preview week 2 at Brad Angelo Lanes in Lockport when we return on Beat the Champ. So what did we learn from our first week here at Brad Angelo Lanes other than Chuck Jagodzinski's really good?
Oh, wow, you really put me on the spot there, because yes, he is really good. No, he really stood up to the test of the left-handers who have sort of dominated here this month. And, like he kind of alluded to, he hasn't had that great of a track record, and yet that was an outstanding performance, and it was really just him gaining confidence as the matches went on.
Yeah, as Chuck pointed out to us, first time he has advanced from another bowling center to start a month's worth of shows, and won for the first time because he didn't have the time on the lanes that the guy that qualified
And that
did.
was in his mind, so kudos to him for sort of keeping it together there And he got a little bit of a break with the 2 opens from his opponent, but you know, that was in his mind the whole time, so
Yeah.
he did a great job.
So we'll get Chuck Jagodzinski back for next week's shows here in our month-long stay in Lockport. I know what else we learned. It's good to have you back on the scoreboard.
Yes, oh my gosh, if this week was any testament to how last month went in Bradford, I missed so much.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
So I'm so glad to be back.
We always have fun with this traveling carnival known as Beat the Champ. We're going to be here in Lockport for 3 more weeks. Good matches coming up next week. Chuck Jagodzinski will try to keep his win streak alive. We hope to see you there when we return next week on Beat the Champ.